The worst feeling in life is not being free. To be locked in somewhere that you don't even know you're gonna get out. Coming out of prison, I did what I had to do to survive. I didn't have nothing, I didn't have a vehicle, and I learned what it was like to show up every day and put in the work, man. Prison to owning a couple businesses, man, and I'm just here to let everybody know, no matter what walk of life you come from, no matter what struggle you're in, you have the power to change that. Any great person in life gets a coach and a mentor. Any successful person reaches for that, man. I've had one, and I could fucking help anybody coming from those positions.
Kickin Ass Takin Names, and today we are here with Shane Morris, a very different type of episode. Shane has gone from a life where he's had a very tough time getting started, really just had a lot of mental trials he had to go through, you guys. And I want you to hear his story because he's going to tell you how he's taken that and he's built 2 six-figure businesses. Shane, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, man. I'm here. I come from a low level of life, man, low income life, prison to owning a couple of businesses, man. And I'm just here to let everybody know, no matter what walk of life you come from, no matter what struggle you're in, no matter what you're up against, no matter if you plateaued in your career, you have the power to change that. You have the power to transition your perspective on life by personal development, by shifting your mindset into the places that you have not yet discovered and change the whole outcome of your life and where you end up.
I guess people want to know first who you are before they hear your story, you know, and so could you tell us a little bit about your background and where you grew up and how you grew up?
For me growing up, man, I come from a low level of life, a low income life, to no income really. My parents, they separated at a young age. So my mom took off out of state with another man. And from there, my dad took over and raised us, man. I was raised by my dad. There were 6 of us. We didn't grow up with any structure in our lives. My dad didn't have a structured job to where we knew and saw the reward of doing the good things in life. And the effects of no structure in my life was no rewards for doing anything good in life. So, you know, if I did something good in school or something, like there wasn't any reward for that at home. It was just a broken situation. We moved so many times, so many different schools. We were living in mobile home trailers out in the desert. You know, my dad would park it out in the desert. You know, that's the things we saw. We took showers in a hose type deal, and just growing up through that, you know, that mix of things and not having nothing to show. And when you face the world and you show up at school, you know, and you got tons of other kids and people around you, man, that judge where you come from or what you're doing, man. Like, you know, you face the world with where you come from, and when there's nothing, you try to create something, man. So that's where I found my validation is not in the rewards that I would get from home, because I wouldn't come to school with some nice shiny Jordans, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was up against all odds, man. My own dad was conformed to the world that he lived and the bad choices he's made, and he directed that on us as children, not even knowing. And I ain't saying that as something bad against him. We don't know that we are doing that when we're doing it, because we're so conformed to our environment. We're stuck in a tunnel vision, man. Mm-hmm. And that's something that so many people, no matter where they come from, are directed in ways that they're not even able to stand up and speak for themselves. They ain't able to stand up and express themselves, because they're already told to do this, do that, don't do this. And we take that and we run and we create habits from somebody else's bad habits already at a young age in life, man. And that's what I did. I saw what my dad did, and I took those habits and I started to pick them up, and I created my own mess in life by finding ways to gain validation, because my dad chose not to have structure in his life. He chose not to have a good direction in his life. So I didn't have nothing to pull from him besides what he showed me. So taking that, man, I didn't have no validation from anything good, like telling myself that I would get some good thing in life if I did the right thing. You know, all I knew was what I learned from him. So doing that, that's where I found my validation. That's where I felt like I was somebody, like somebody looked up to me because I was a badass. I was fearless in doing the things that other people feared to do. So I kept doing those kind of things to where it created, you know, smoking weed at a young age, you know, all that kind of environment that it was around me. I took that in and wanted to be the best at it, you know. Growing up, my inspiration was music videos, that kind of gangster life, you know, the Scarface movies, that kind of stuff. That is where I found like, damn, be the badass and that kind of shit, you know, because that's what I had to work with was drugs around me, you know, violence around me, guns, stuff like that, you know. So I took what was there and tried to be a badass with all that. And yeah, I was on autopilot, man, and these habitual behaviors that I didn't even know I was forming because that's just where I got my validation and was known for doing something. You know what I mean? Yeah. I was the guy that went and jacked my stepdad's weed and took it and bought the kids new Jordans from him at school, you know?
Mm-hmm. Where did you go from there? You were in school and now you're saying like, okay, you're pretty much like teenage years. Those are
just like
years.
My teenage days was just the worst of it. I was rebellious to authority. I was the delinquent kid, you know, in school, and that's just what I was known for, man. So coming from there, you know, I had my struggles at home, and I ended up beefing with my dad at one point, you know, probably about 16, and took off from home, man, and landed out at the homie's house in one of the biggest trap houses in the area, really. And that's where I got into the most criminal activity from there. I was living there with the homies doing the most, man, everything you can think of. And still with the same mindset, man, nothing could stop me. I was still praised for being that fearless man to jump in the vehicle and go do the dirt. I was praised for, you know, knocking dude out, you know.
So you were getting validation still from people, but in the wrong areas.
Wrong direction.
Yeah. Validation that you were chasing was because you didn't have like the role models to look up to, right?
The environment I came from and the validation that I learned to love and the adrenaline I got from it, it was such on autopilot that I just created this forward drive in it that I was just out to be the best or the worst at that kind of life, man. And, you know, I didn't care what anybody thought about me at that point, to where I'm just somebody that's headed in a direction. I just didn't know where, you know? Mm-hmm. And with what I brought with me, it was in a negative place. It was in a criminal place. I was headed in the far as I can to be the worst or best at being that, you know?
You knew that you were going to go to jail because you thought that was like a bad, like that was like a mark of respect or honor, like a badge of honor.
Catching these little crimes here and there as a younger teenager and a young adult, man. I was in and out of jail, nothing really to shake me, man. And I looked at it as, you know, that was something that earned a lot of respect, you know, when you're doing some time in prison. I mean, that's what we looked up to. My dad did some years in prison, and anyone older around us kind of had been there. So it was like a male role model to us. And so I wasn't fearless of anything at that point. Going to prison, it was like it was something I wanted to do. I was gonna go there and get tatted the fuck up, you know. And that's how I felt about it. And then I landed there. I ended up getting into more serious crimes with the habitual behaviors I had going, and I landed some armed robbery, aggravated assault, stuff like that, man, serious. And I went to prison, man. I sat in county for quite a while and faced all that.
I know that a lot of people who are watching are probably going to think, like, if they're in a bad place, they're probably thinking like, what do I have? Where am I going to go? Because they don't know that story of validation they're telling themselves in their head.
Yeah.
Like, how did that play a part in your life?
Man, it was hard, man. Knowing that you don't have nothing at home, you look for it in other places, man. You become a person that don't want to be home. You want to be out in the world. And when you face the world, there's so many other adversities that you come up against that you're out there to prove that you're somebody. You're out there every man's out there to prove that he's a man, you know? And the only way you can do that is by what you have in the beginning. And I feel I had nothing, so I looked for it in other ways.
How did you end up in prison?
How I grew up, to like the struggles I've been through, what I faced, the changing points as far as prison, where I hit my brick wall in life, to where that direction of being a badass took me to nothing. Like, I hit a brick wall with being a badass that way. So I realized in that moment that I had to look at myself in the mirror, like, where am I, you know, when I'm calling home, like, you know, I looked back at my life and relived it in prison and in so many different ways that I reconstructed it and found where I went wrong. I really looked at the individual that I was that whole time. In my mind, all I knew is that I was the shit. I was a badass. And really, I was just tearing up life. And I had a couple babies during this time at a young age, and I hit prison. Like, my littlest baby was 6 months old in her little walker on the front patio, and the last time I saw her before I hit my big case. So, all those things woke me up. I hit prison walls. I had nothing to do besides look at myself and get in touch with my conscience and evaluate who I was as a person rather than what the world was showing me I was. By getting in touch with my conscience, I broke the chains of the world in prison, man. All the chains they had on me, the eating, the drugs, the bad habits that I created in life, the fighting, the criminal activities I was involved with, the people, the circles, all those chains broke away from me in prison. So I was just faced with myself, man. And that's when I really found myself, found my own self-awareness and redirected that, man. I really redirected who I was in prison. I knew that I was a badass, but I hit my wall being a badass. So I wanted to be a badass still. Honestly, at a young age, everything that I grew up in, my biggest thing was the attention. The attention I got and the shine I got from knowing I didn't have no attention or shine at home is what I lived for, man. I lived for that attention. Whatever it was, the fearlessness that people wouldn't want to do, the things they didn't want to do because they were fearful of them. Like, I was the first one on the front line to do those things. So that created the person that I was before prison. And coming into prison, like I said, I hit my brick wall and I still wanted more. I'm just this man on this straight direction. I never want to stop. And when I hit my brick wall, I had no other choice but to change that direction of being a badass the other way, take that badass the other way, positive, up. And I started telling myself, I'm going to stop hanging out with this circle, these people. I'm going to stop these habits. I'm going to not do this. I'm going to do this when I get out. I never had a house. I never had those kind of structured things. I never built a career. I look back and all I had, I never wore the same clothes and I was hustling. I was never wearing the same clothes. I had a nice big gold chain at the time. I'm 19 years old. I earned those things in those ways, but I never had it on a positive level. So when I really redirected myself in prison and directed my own person, those things I told myself was, I'm not even knowing at the time, I was rewiring my brain, that self-talk, till down the road now that I've got in touch with more books in my life and stuff like that, and really tapped into the minds of millionaires and things like that I really realized what I was doing. And that's what really wakes you up in life, is when you reach for something that's outside of your world, somebody else's perspective, somebody else's vision on life, and you bring that into yourself, man, it fucking changes everything. So by doing that, I really re-looked at my life again, man, so many different times and learned that I was rewiring myself and I didn't even know it. I was that self-talk. Everybody always says it's all in your head. You can do anything you put your mind to. To anybody hearing that, it sounds far-fetched, man. It sounds like that's just some motivational fucking goal for the world, But it's not. It's fucking real. It's reality. Like, I got chills right now talking about it. Like, that shit makes me want to break down, really. Like, I really changed myself and didn't even know at the time because I had no other direction to go, man. So rewiring my brain with that self-talk, telling myself I'm not going to do this, I'm going to do this better. The in-prison routine, the programs I was doing, as far as my daily mandatory workout in prison, you have to fucking work out mandatory every day. If not, you get your ass whooped, things like that. That early morning wake up in prison, that same meals every day. Little did I know that was really building the best me, the program, my base program that can't be broken. And that's what it's about, is I came out of prison with that, and that's what really kept me strong. Those things, I was wiring myself to not fall below that, The things that make you feel the best about yourself is working out, building your mind, reading, even if it's 15 minutes a day, that it's going to set your whole perspective for the whole day and change your life. So imagine doing that for years in prison and just creating these great habits that you just carried with you right out the door. And from then, I got out of prison with nothing, with zero. You know, I lost everything when I was in there. All my freedom, man. Like, it was the worst feeling in life is not being free. To be locked in somewhere that you don't even know you're gonna get out. Like in prison, when you're in there for years, man, you really think, like, you doubt the fact that you're even gonna walk out those doors, even though you have a release date, man. Like, you think something's gonna happen. Like, it's too good to be true that you're gonna get to see the real world again. And you know, when that happens, you know, like, you just hope for it and you pray to God. You do everything you can right in there to live up to what you can be when you get out. And that's what I did, man. And I really rewired myself. And so coming out of prison, I did what I had to do to survive, you know. I didn't have nothing. I didn't have a vehicle. You know, I started out on the bus, man. I was taking the bus every day, fast food, man. My first job was McDonald's when I got out. Actually, it was Arby's fast food restaurant, man, you know, and we laugh at that, but shit, I'm proud of anybody to start somewhere because I know what it takes to start over, man. So I had Arby's, and then I would get off of work from there midday and go to McDonald's and work. Take the bus, man, back and forth like that for days. And I started learning, like, all right, this is what it's like to do good. And I started getting attention from that. Like, wow, like, like, he changed, you know? So that attention I got from change started feeling better than it ever did before. Mm-hmm. And I just kept going on that path, man. I kept showing up every day, and I learned what it was like to show up every day and put in the work, man. Put in the work, and really prison built that base for me. So every day I put in the work, I saw more come to me. No matter what, it just came because I was putting in the work every day. So
what did that lead to? Because you made more money.
Me showing up every day had no choice but to bring the better results in my life. Next thing you know, I was getting raises. I worked fast food for about a year, man, and then I landed into plumbing. So plumbing's a construction trade is really good thing to get into, man. And I started out at $9 an hour, $9.50 an hour, man.
Like you're saying the plumbing, right? So that's something you still do.
Yeah, so I landed in plumbing at $9 an hour, man, and I just showed up every day. I put in the work. I was outperforming people because I was nice and fit, man. Years in prison got me that. I kept performing, man, until they didn't have no choice but to give me raises. You know what I mean? I'm outperforming guys that are doing this shit 30 years. You know.
Yeah.
So next thing you know, I found myself in a foreman position and working with guys under me that were doing this 20, 30 years, man. And that's another thing that changed my perspective in life is when I saw this 60-year-old man out there in the trenches working next to me, man. And I just told myself, there's more. Like, you learned that there was more from where you came from, Shane, that you're going to tell yourself that in everything you do, man. There's more than what you're doing at any moment. And you can always go higher. So I didn't want to be one of those guys that broke my back and fucking worked in the trenches all my life, man. Like, it just wasn't going to be me. So from that moment, I knew I had to do even better. From there, man, I just taught myself more. I made sure I showed up and did the extras on work, the weekends. I put in that extra where I doubled up my work, man. That was always what paid better and made me level up from anything I was at. So
you said you started a business after that, though, right?
Yeah. So
you got into the business.
So after doing plumbing, I say about 5 years out of prison, I've always drawn throughout my life, man. I was a tagger back in high school, tagging up the walls, all that good stuff, because it was it was fun and good then. But you know, I was always into some drawing, man. I'd be drawing the girls' names and shit while I was in class. So in prison, that was my hustle. I didn't tattoo in prison. My hustle in prison was drawing, making cards, making birthday drawings and stuff for the kids at home, for everyone. And out of prison, my dad passed me a little shitty-ass tattoo gun, man, a little cheapie, and tatted up my brother and my sisters, co-workers, and it just kind of, every few months I'd do a tattoo or something here or there, whoever wanted something. And really about 5 years out of working in plumbing and stuff and doing that here and there, COVID hit in 2020 it was. And that's when everything shut down. There wasn't nothing else to do in the world. So everybody I knew started like piling up on me for a tattoo. And I was like, I couldn't do this at my house. I had a little baby that was only months old. Mm-hmm. So I was like, you know what? I got to get a studio. I got to get a little spot separate, you know? And at that point, then I was like, all right, I have a studio. I'm tatting. Like, I can't be somewhere doing that out in the public and not be legit and have a license and that stuff. So I got my LLC, which was nothing, man, you know? So that I knew I was doing everything the right way. And I just started teaching myself how to put that into play. So from there, once you plant that seed, it just grows, man. You plant that idea, you plant that belief in yourself, it just starts to grow, man. I knew I could tattoo, and I knew with every tattoo I got better. So I put that to work, man. I started putting in more work. I started pushing it out there like, hey, you want a tattoo? I'll do it for nothing, you know what I mean? Just so I could get that work to show. And once I started doing that, man, it's brought in more.
Yeah.
And I just really learned, it really soaked into me. Like once you start something in life, no matter what it is, you know, whatever hustle you have, whatever hobby, whatever makes you fucking happy to do, like focus on that. Bring that to life, man. Start it in a legit way and you'll create a side hustle that can't be stopped, man, because it's you, because you're putting all yourself into it every day. And once you get a taste of that, man, and you really learn how that seed just grows when you start something, like my mind's on tattooing. Next thing you know, all this different network of tattooing starts coming to me because everything, my vision, my mind is on tattooing. So my mind brings it in, you know, anything I see that I can learn, any new equipment, any new step I can take, you know, I really put my pride into that. And I learned how to build a business all just by myself. Nobody told me how to do all that stuff. Google and shit, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. You also did the plumbing business too, right?
Yeah. Once I got my tattoo business rolling, man, and started making better income at it, I jumped into a bigger, nicer spot, man. And really, I got one of the nicest, dopest luxury tattoo shops in Tucson. And I've just really seen what that has built, man. So then after doing that for a while, you know, my income every year doubled in it. So I was in plumbing already this whole time. That was my backbone, man. I got my backbone for my house, backbone for my few vehicles, backbone to take care of my family, man. And I knew that I couldn't give that up. So I then bettered myself in that. I'm like, you know what? Like, I know plumbing, man. I'm a badass at that. I'm building surgery centers and stuff now. And it's like just the same way I did that in the tattooing. Yeah. Like I could get my license and get contracted and make that myself. Like now I got a taste of what it's like to work for yourself. And once you get a taste of that, you don't go back, man. You can't work for somebody after that, man.
That's the truth, man. That's the truth. I've been working from home for 5 years, dude. I haven't worked at a job in 5 years. Yeah. So I could never go back, dude. I'd rather die on my hill right here, you know? What would you tell yourself if you could go back to your younger self and tell yourself that advice that you wish you knew? Like the things you know now.
If I could look back at myself and tell my younger self something, the best thing I could tell myself is really pay attention to what you're bringing into your life, the information, the habits, really filter through those and figure out what works for you, what serves you the best, man. Because we adapt so many different habits that don't even serve us, that just take us into this damaged, fucking destructive place in life that we don't even know we're doing until we're so messed up that we're trying to find a way out.
Okay, so from a perspective of someone who's gone from literally, you said a broken home, ended up in prison, rock bottom, completely flipped that around, started not just one, but 2 businesses, done over 6 figures in 2 businesses. If you keep that up, I mean, we know where you're going next, right? Like that next stage, what does that mean for you? What's the next stage of life for you?
Man, I just know that there's never no end to this. Somebody like me is really just in love with the process, man. The work you do every day, showing up, man. Just waking up and drinking that first drink of coffee, nothing feels greater. Like, yeah, I'm about to fucking kill the day, man.
I see you post that all the time.
When I lace up my shoes, man, every day, I just know that I'm gonna do so much. I don't stop, man. I don't stop moving. Like from waking up in the morning, doing my workouts, reading, to showing up and laying out some guys on the job site for the plumbing, to doing some tattoo appointments in the evening, to a lot of times hitting a second workout. It's all about keeping your mind in that same place and putting in the work, man. The more you put in the work every day and learn to love that, the more results, the more bigger things that are going to come to you in life, because they won't have no choice because you put in the work for them.
With that being said, let's go into the last piece, which is going to be your program, what you want to help people with, what you're here for.
Programming, man, just teaching people how much their base program and really dipping into personal development, man.
You use the word base programming, and I know you want to help others, and that's your goal, right? You're here today to spread a message and really just like bring in a positive aspect of the mental for people to help them grow mentally. Now, what does that mean, base programming?
Look, your base program is what you fall to, man. So you don't rise up to your goals, you fall to your program. So by building the best program, really, I've learned to look back at my life and every adversity I've been through, every struggle, man, coming from nothing through business, everything, and reverse engineering and really magnifying what works, what habits to cut out, and what habits to magnify, man. And when you do that in your own life, you really find the most in personal development, man. When you build the best person possible to face this world, like your limits are limitless.
Okay, so I know you talk about that, the base programming. Who is it that you want to help?
Man, anybody that's come from low levels of life, anybody that's plateaued, anybody that's just lost and just don't know where to fucking go next. For anyone looking for direction in their life, man, they didn't have it growing up. They don't have it in their life right now where they've plateaued in their career. Any walks of life, low level, low income, man. Anyone that's been through the same struggles as me, man. Anyone that's been through prison, anyone that's came from a young age of having parents that directed them right off the bat to failure, man, because their parents were failing. You know, anyone that's stuck in a regular job thinking they're doing badass, man. I was there. I was thinking I was a fucking badass being a foreman, man. But really, I was plateaued. I didn't, I was where to go next was always the question. Where do I go next was the question. So anyone looking for that, man, it's all about personal development, man. Look, there's no greater reward than internal reward, man. And when you really start to focus on the person that's facing the world, man, no matter what you face, you're going to overcome when you build that person to its best. So by building up the best program, base program, fitness-wise, mindset, man, building that person that's confident when you look in the mirror, you can get through anything. When I look back in my life, through everything I've been through my struggles, through my adversities, I really magnified and learned how to magnify all the habits that don't serve me and all the habits that do, man. And I just got really good at fucking helping anybody with that, man. I can take a look at your life and really magnify what works and what doesn't work and where to improve at and what to really focus and shift your perspective onto, man. And when you do that, that's when your life changes. That's when you level up, man. Any great person in life gets a coach and a mentor. Any successful person reaches for that, man. I've had one and I could fucking help anybody coming from those positions. And if you're looking for help in this shit and you want my fucking blueprint to life that'll help you come out of your plateaus, man, follow me on Instagram, explicitly Shane, DM me and I'll get right to it, man. Let's go.
All right, so that's Kickin Ass Takin Names with Shane Moore. He's going to give you guys a lot more. If you hit him up, he's going to give you guys some advice. He's going to give you life advice. He's going to help you. Like he said, he's got a blueprint. So again, we're going to put the link in the bio. Thank you guys. Kickin Ass Takin Names.